This video is about laundry area protection, specifically AFCI and GFCI protection, and how to pass your laundry area inspection. You want to remember to always check with your local AHJ authority having jurisdiction in your local and state adopted codes. References today are going to be from the 2020 and 2023 NEC National Electric Code. For laundry areas between 2020 and 2023 of the National Electric Code, the only real changes were more language and clarity, making it more clear what appliances required GFCI protection. They also cleared up hardwired appliance protection and made it more clear about outlet protection. And again, if you look at the slide I have up here now, an outlet would be, as an example, this 1900 box where the wires are coming out of. That is an outlet, and we've talked about this in previous videos. And obviously the GFCI is a receptacle. So if it's calling for outlet protection, that means anything that is attached to those wires coming out of that box has to be protected, it has to be GFCI protected. AFCI protection in laundry areas under 210.12 remain the same. All 120 volt laundry circuits have to be protected. Obviously in a laundry area, you're going to have conductive surfaces, you're going to have water in that area. And also because of different incidents that occurred, different electrocution and shock incidents that occurred, they changed the code so that it would make hardwired and dryer appliances GFCI protected. So oftentimes one of the reasons that the code changes a little bit is because of something that does occur, some type of a safety hazard or worse. And as far as AFCI protection, although it remained the same, the reasoning behind it is they're trying to protect from any type of arcing that would occur in the wall and cause some type of a fire in the structure. So if you look at the slide I have up here now, the GFCI requirement for laundry areas can be found under 210.8A and 210.8D. So under A, it's telling us that all 125 volt through 250 volt single phase receptacles have to be GFCI protected. And in 210.8D, it tells us specifically, it calls out dryers, and it tells us that this applies to single phase circuits, 150 volts to ground and 60 amps or less. And in this next slide I have up here, it tells us that AFCI requirements under 210.12b are required for 120 volt single phase circuits. And then the change was 10 amps. So anything 10 amp, 15 amp, or 20 amp circuits, you must have arc fault protection. And laundry circuits are specifically included in the list under 210.12b of the NEC. So bottom line, every 120 volt circuit in the laundry area has to be AFCI protected. That means the lighting, any other circuit that may be in the laundry, if it's passing through the laundry, it has to be arc fault protected. And that's in addition to the GFCI protection that's called out in 210.8. And in most of the inspections, I find that the electrician either protects the GFCI with a GFCI receptacle, if it's 120, and then an AFCI breaker, or they use a dual function AFCI, GFCI breaker. Now, if you look at the slide I have up here now, it shows you a dual function or an all-in-one as far as Eaton. They call it an all-in-one. So I'll get a close-up of this. So you see all-in-one AFCI, GFCI. Also, I want to show you, though, some confusion has come up on inspections before where an electrician thinks he's providing both AFCI and GFCI protection because on this breaker here, you see it says combination. It's telling you what type of an arc fault that breaker will pick up. So it'll pick up both parallel arcs and series arc faults. And that's a requirement of the NEC. Typically, a breaker today that you're going to find is going to be combination because that's what the NEC requires. But this is not to be confused with an AFCI, GFCI dual function or all-in-one function. So you always want to make sure that you are protecting both AFCI faults and GFCI faults. Now, another point of confusion that will sometimes come up on inspections is the electrician will say, I didn't think I had to protect the dryer or the 240 volt circuit because it's 240 volts. And the code says less than or equal to 150 volts to ground and less than or equal to 60 amps. So if you were to test the single phase 240 volt circuit, you would get 120 volts to ground off of each leg. So if you look at what I have up here now, I'm just showing with my meter. And you can see right now I have my tester on one of the legs of the 240 volt breaker, and I have it on the grounded conductor or the neutral conductor. And if you look at my meter, you see I'm getting about 120 volts. 120 volt is typical in the area where I am, so I'm getting a little bit more here. So this utility gives a little bit more in my area. You can see that I have one of my test probes on one leg of that breaker and I'm touching the neutral. And then if I go to the other leg, again, you see that I'm getting 120. So you can understand that GFCI protection requirement on a circuit that's 150 volts or less to ground. Okay, and then obviously when I test both legs, you're going to get 240 or a little bit more in my area. If you want a more detailed breakdown, you can go to my website, buildingcodegeek.com, where I have a more detailed post on laundry area protection. And I'll leave a link in the description for that post. I also create an easy reference guide for where AFCI and GFCI protection is required in other areas, and I'll leave that link in the description too. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and remember to subscribe, and thanks for watching.